Welcome to Stay at Home Dads, a podcast.
With your hosts, Drew and Justin, a place where we talk about a lot of guy stuff.
And a little bit of dad stuff too. So kick back, relax, and let's talk.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey.
What are you up to?
Not a whole lot, man. Just
Doing some podcasting?
just doing some podcasting. My wife went out on a little evening jaunt with some neighborhood ladies. So it's me and the kids sitting in this house by ourselves. So
Nice.
Yeah.
I'd come over if I wasn't in a different state.
yeah, we can have some beers or something.
Could have some beers on the patio.
Yeah.
Okay, so today's show, I thought we should talk about technology now versus then. So technology that we kind of grew up with and that we're familiar with versus technology that our kids will experience. What do you think of that?
I kind of think that's kind of interesting. Yeah,
Could that be a cool
like-
show?
yeah, like things that we, that are totally normal to us that our kids have no idea what in the hell we're talking about, or stuff that they have at their fingertips that, we didn't have as kids, back then. So that.
And I will say this, the nice thing about having a kid in this day and age is at some point, in fact, I'm probably almost there, technology is going to get to the point where I need somebody to explain it to me. And that's just, I think it's like this benchmark of being like an adult.
Right, that's the cutoff of being old.
I feel like I helped my dad with stuff. Like maybe it's all in my head, but I feel like I helped him with things like with the VCR or like hooking up the the Nintendo. I don't know, man. Like I just feel like at some point
I had to help my dad just recently list something on Facebook Marketplace for sale. Like he was like, oh, I don't even really understand, or I don't feel like figuring out how to use it. So I did it for him really fast on my phone and made an ad and that was it. And he was like, oh wow, that was easy. And I was like, yeah, it's not bad. So it's funny. And now our kids are going to do that to us. You know that, right?
Oh yeah.
Once our kids get to a certain age, my freaking daughter is asking me for a Chromebook. She has Chromebooks at school, school issued ones. And she's like, Dad, I want a Chromebook. And I'm like, sorry, I hit my mic. So what's a Chromebook? I don't even know how to use one. Isn't that like a Microsoft thing? I sound so old and decrepit.
No. I'm right there with you because I have no idea what a Chromebook is, but I've heard the term now. So knowing is half the battle. Go Joe. Right. All right. So let's kick it off with what are some technologies that we grew up basically using on a regular basis that unfortunately or fortunately our daughters will never experience? Would you like to start?
Dial-up internet.
Dial-up internet.
Do you remember that?
I do remember that, and how everything was so slow.
Yes.
Like it was like a turtle.
Like it would load.
Mm-hmm.
Just slowly scrolling down the screen to load. Can you imagine if you were trying to load something for school or a project or something? And it's just yeah. I remember these days. I legit remember dial-up internet, and you would pick up the phone and it would make those crazy squealing sounds.
What was up with that? Okay, I was just trying to get to that. What was that? What was that weird? I can't mimic it, but everyone can hear it.
It sounds like a fax machine.
Yeah, it's like these weird squeals and boops and beeps and it was what the hell was that? But I was like, that's the Matrix. That's technology.
I don't know, dude. I mean, now it's just now kids have internet at their fingertips. They have it, it's in the phone. It's right there, and they don't have to wait for it. They don't have to wait for it to dial up. They don't have to take turns with their siblings. It's just.
Do you remember your first experience of the internet? Because I remember mine very, very specifically. I just wanted to remember or ask you if you remember your first getting online experience and really realizing
I remember. I may be dating myself, but some of our listeners may know, and you may know. Do you remember the AOL CDs you would get in the mail?
Oh yeah,
we had those, and I think that was in internet was paid for by the minute.
Okay,
you bought minutes of internet, so you had a very narrow time. So if you asked, I remember if you would ask your parent can I get on the internet, and they would time you, they'd be like, okay, well you can get on for 20 minutes of internet time or whatever. It was very it was very strict on the internet, and that's about all I remember of it. But
Yeah.
what's your experience with it?
I remember being in high school, and this is like a stupid example, but it's the one that like stands out crystal clear in my mind. So when I was in high school, like this was like in 97 probably, I was obsessed with the band 311. And
We got to pause.
basically
Welcome to Stay at Home Dads.
okay, we're back. So I had to take care of my baby real quick. So anyway, I was back in high school, and I think it was like 97, and I was really obsessed with 311. And I was like in this computer lab, and I remember I think I got on like Yahoo. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Like probably Yahoo was the search engine. And I remember like I searched 311, and they had a website, and I was so stoked. Like I hit 311, clicked on their website. All of a sudden, like this big 311 emblem came up. The music started. It was like they had like a web page. And I was like, oh my God. And like that was like for me, I was like, okay, there's gonna be
Like
something.
you can see pictures of like your favorite band. Like
I
it's
could see
not in,
pictures
like,
of
a
the
magazine.
Yep, it was kind of like I could see pictures of the band members. Like they had like, yeah. So I was like, okay, internet's pretty amazing. Cause but yeah.
That's
That's my
our kids they'll just never understand like the dealings of like dial-up internet or a corded phone to the wall, like,
dude. Or like
stuff like
having a
that.
corded phone and trying to have like a private conversation with your like friend or girlfriend. So like you have to like go as far away from the base as you can. And
Because
like
it
go
was
around.
usually in the kitchen, right? Like,
Yeah,
or in like a main part of your house, which had no privacy.
right. So like you're literally like stretching the cord to like its limit, and you're trying to like go around a corner and like behind a door if you can, but like yeah, it's or you're talking like really quiet into it, like yeah. Pss, 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 pss. So yeah.
Or encyclopedias.
Oh my God, dude.
Like that kind of ties in with internet, like the internet. I mean, the internet is an
Yeah.
encyclopedia. So
Or take it like a step further. You had to go to the library to like research for papers. Like you
yes.
had to go to the library. You get like a pile of books for your topic. You get the encyclopedia
God.
with your topic title or your topic in it, and like you got like 10 books open, and you're like scribbling stuff down. Like back then, I think it was easier to plagiarize. By the way, I'm not saying that's appropriate, but back then I feel like it was easier to get away with. You
Oh my
didn't.
God. I forgot about like that.
Yeah.
I just remembered encyclopedias because my wife was very adamant about keeping her parents' encyclopedias, and they are currently in my basement in like
Yeah.
a huge heavy ass box.
Oh my God.
So I don't know how old they are or how outdated the information is to them, but that's something our kids will never have to deal with, lugging around a giant book to read about zebras,
This sounds nerdy, but when we got like a set of encyclopedias like at my house, that was kind of like like an entertainment source. And I was like, let's look up what's in G. And like I'm
Yeah,
like scrolling
this
through, I'm
page.
like, ooh, a gum tree. What's a gum tree? Like just weird crap. Like, but it was like back then, like we didn't have internet, like when I got my encyclopedias. So like I was
Yeah.
like,
And that
ooh,
was like nightly trivia, like,
yeah.
hey sister,
Yeah.
do you know how much a gazelle weighs? Like,
Yeah, dude. It was
you know.
encyclopedias were fun. Like they were kind of I mean they're in a very nerdy way, they were fun. So
It's just, yeah, they will never. There's so much technology that our kids use that like iPads in streaming services. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I remember when Netflix was a mail order thing.
Dude, I just thought about that. In fact, I was just telling my wife about that recently. I was like, do you remember when Netflix would send you a DVD like to your house and you'd have
Yeah.
to like mail it back? Like that was like the beginning of Netflix.
That was like their thing, and people probably forget about, like, I mean, people easily forget about like old technology, and
Yeah.
now it's literally like it's at your fingertips. It's on a remote. You turn the TV on.
Yeah.
You can pause a show. You can go to the bathroom. You can make some popcorn. You come back. you didn't
That's a
miss a
good
beat,
point. Because I remember being a kid and like I'm watching like our favorite show, like with my sister or like my family, and like it's a commercial break and you make a mad dash to the kitchen and like you hit the bathroom and you grab a snack and like you're making a snack in the kitchen and it's just like it's back on and you're like, oh my God, and you're like freaking like doing like hurdles over like chairs and like knocking over lamps, like because you
Right.
don't
Now,
want to miss yeah.
my 3-year-old and my 6-year-old are like, I have to go potty. Pause it. Pause the show, Dad. They tell me to pause. She's 3 and she knows that like that's normal procedure for her. Like, oh, gotta pause my cartoon so I can go
So
to the bathroom.
spoiled. So spoiled.
It's just they will
Yeah.
never. I mean,
Yeah.
there's really no advice to give here. This is just kind of fun, but they will never understand like. But renting a tape from Blockbuster
Yeah.
and watching it a VHS tape and then putting it in the tape rewinder before you bring it back to the store, like
Be kind, rewind.
that sounds so ridiculous. That sounds so obscene.
Do you remember what I was like texting you today about ideas for the show? And I was telling you about how crazy it was when I was in like my early 20s. I was in the Army. And I remember I was stationed up in Fort Drum, New York, and had never been up there. And I had to navigate around to these places. I used a folding maps from the gas station was like crucial. That was like the epitome.
Those are very important. Yes.
It was very important. I had a glove box full of maps and I would meet friends. Like I made friends locally and they'd be like, hey, we're having this party this weekend. Come check it out. And they'd like probably scribble on a napkin and I'd like take the napkin, be like, I'll be there. And then like I'd literally have to like take my map out and like I'd have to like plot this course.
Yeah, and you had to know how to read a map too.
I had to know how to read
that's
a
the
map.
thing, like mile markers and like exits and all. Like people don't know how to do that stuff anymore. Like that's like a forgotten thing,
No. So I was thinking last night, I have like these really deep thoughts when I'm feeding my daughter at like 2 a.m. a bottle. And I was thinking about how I used to like plot using a folding map. I was like, that's not too many steps removed from these sailors that would like navigate the sea by the stars. Like I was like, had I been born a few hundred years earlier, I probably could have navigated the ocean by the stars.
Yeah, you'd be okay. You'd be okay.
Be able to
figure it out. Like,
but now, like if my GPS goes down, I'm like, oh, like panic mode. Like you're like, oh my God, I'm lost.
Oh yeah, like if your phone's at 2%, and you're like, oh my God, my Google Maps is gonna go away, and you're panicking. And
well, even worse, like a week ago, my in-laws were in town visiting, and we were supposed to meet at like the Denver Zoo, and for whatever reason, the GPS in my Toyota 4Runner, did not take us to the zoo. Like I entered it like in the little like screen. It took us to like a college that was not anything close to the zoo. And
Denver Zoo College, huh?
I guess, I mean, technically, I guess colleges are zoos. But like my wife, we get there, we're like, this is a college. Like, where did your car take us? And what's crazy is like I checked the search history and it said Denver Zoo, and like it took us to like this college campus. So then we like got our phones out. We're like, okay, let's put this in. And we were like, luckily it was only like 50, probably like 10 minutes out from where we were. But yeah, so
some technology is not perfect. I mean,
I just can't believe though that I literally typed in like Denver Zoo and it took us to a college campus, like in the center of this college campus. We're like,
you're like, how? That's happened to me though too. Like using GPS is not always foolproof. Like,
yeah,
I've used like Apple Maps on my phone, and for some reason, Apple Maps on my Apple phone sometimes does not recognize my home address, and it actually will boot me to the same street, but it's in like Rhode Island for some reason when I like try to like find my house, and it like it's done it multiple times, and I have no idea why. But
yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
So what else we got? We got cassettes and CDs. They will never see cassettes and CDs.
Streaming music, just like streaming movies. Like our kids will never understand the art and the process of illegally downloading music on my computer and buying a stack of CDs and burning a CD and having that type of music. They will never, understand that.
even before that though, like let's rewind it. Like when I was in high school, like 96, 97, mixtapes.
Oh
I
yeah.
made the most epic mixtapes of all time. I had
Recording the
off
song off the radio.
Oh, well, sometimes, but like, well, here's a funny thing. I had a boombox that had like a CD player and a cassette like in it, cassette console. So
Yeah.
like you would put your awesome CDs in it on the top, but then like you could record like these incredible mixed cassettes. So I
Mm.
had like, I mean, I was into like Offspring and like 311
So you could cherry pick your favorite songs and put them on a tape.
and like Tool and like, yeah, and then Corn came out like when we were like close to seniors. Like Corn was like the big thing for a minute. You remember Corn?
Mm-hmm. Corn was good.
Limp Bizkit. That was after I was out of high school, but yeah, the
Yeah,
whole like
I remember that. Like
the whole-
LimeWire. Remember like Napster and LimeWire?
oh
LimeWire
yeah.
is what I used. And I don't know. I couldn't tell you probably how many viruses I gave my parents' computer, but
Mm,
probably many, many viruses. But
yeah.
here's another one I just thought of is baby monitors.
Oh
When we were babies
yeah.
and when our parents were raising us, my mom has told me like it was a luxury to have the baby monitor that just did the sound. Like that was a luxury. They didn't have video monitors
Oh, I know.
and they didn't have any of that stuff. And like our kid, I mean, that kind of goes back to like how we talked about in the other show about helicopter parenting. Yeah, see, look.
She's sleeping right now. I'm on duty because this is my shift right now to watch the little one, and I have full audio with night vision.
Yeah.
Full
And what
audio
did
with
our
night
parents
vision,
have?
or not
They
audio,
had
not
us
audio.
screaming.
Yeah, yeah.
That
I
was their audio.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy how you get the night vision on that too, though. And like, it's sometimes I'll put her in the nursery before it's like fully dark, and I feel like it's in color till it goes night, and then all of a sudden,
Like it's really bright.
well, I want to say like when it's light, I like full color, but then like it reaches this point where it's too dark, and then it switches on like night vision,
Oh,
and like
okay.
it's the black and white. So
Yeah, it's
anyway,
wild. It's just like
yeah.
or a Wi-Fi monitor to where you have it on your phone and you
Mhm.
can go out and do yard work when your kid's taking a nap, and you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
like our kids, I'm kind of curious as to like where some of this stuff will go eventually when our children are
Yeah.
older. But
Well,
dude, the iPads too, man. The iPads that's a big one.
well, oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, I was just gonna tell you that my daughter, she's 7 months and
Mhm.
she's playing games on my wife's iPad. Like I didn't have access to like computer games till I was like I my dad had like I feel like he had like an Apple or something. I can't remember what he had. I feel like we had a computer, but like I was like definitely like in like elementary school, and it wasn't like something I could hold like in my lap. It was like
Right.
a full giant monitor, a giant modem. Like yeah, like it was so,
It's yeah, my daughters, I don't think, I don't know when they started using an iPad. I mean, they're not old. They've used one since, a very, very early age as well. But I feel like some of that kind of goes like into, I mean, constant engagement, with children and some of this technology. Like you and I probably didn't have that, and our families didn't have that. Like we had the ability, or we were gifted the ability to be bored, to not have an iPad, to not have constant engagement, kind of like how some of this technology and some of these new things are kind of doing to our kids now, to where they have this instant gratification of recording a show on TV, and they have this instant YouTube on their iPad, and it's all instant and immediate, and there's no waiting and there's no patience, and I think that's kind of bad.
So I'm glad you brought that up because you and I were briefly like catching up before the show tonight, and we were talking about I watched a Joe Rogan episode. You remember this conversation, right?
Yeah.
Where so I can't, I wish I could tell you the guest's name, but basically they were talking about how nowadays we never allow ourselves time to just be bored, because anytime we become bored, what do? We pick up our phones, we put like open an app, you're scrolling through like Instagram, Facebook, whatever. The problem with that is there's like really two major things that I feel like I took away from the show that I watched. And one is, if you're never bored, you're never going to like you're missing out on these moments to become creative, because
Mhm.
if you're always being entertained, you're never going to sit there and just come up with your like, oh, like your
My
aha
idea.
moment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So out of boredom springs like creativity. So because like this current generation is never bored, like how much creativity are we like missing out on? And then
That's a good point. Yeah.
I
Sorry,
mean,
go ahead.
I didn't come up with it. Like, I'm just like regurgitating what I saw on the Joe Rogan show. Anyway, so the second thing was, he was saying that because we never go into that state of boredom, basically your mind never has like this opportunity to kind of rest,
Mhm.
and it's creating like this like mental fatigue. So you're experiencing like mass just like exhaustion, and you're just kind of like, oh my god, why am I so tired? It's because you're never just giving your brain a rest. Like any downtime you have, you're trying to stimulate yourself through like scrolling. And
Mhm.
what's crazy is like, we're kind of pioneers on like this whole like new like era of having like this kind of technology at our fingertips. There's never been a generation that's had this before, so we're still kind of like, we're the guinea pigs learning what
Right.
this is doing to our brains and like how this is affecting us
But
psychologically. And
it's kind of funny that you say that too, because I've given my daughters the iPad, and I've been like, okay, and I usually give it to them like nowadays with like a time, like you can have this for half an hour, you guys can play this for an hour or whatever. But sometimes if I've given it to them for a longer period than that,
yeah,
I can literally, and it's always been this way with, for as long as they've gotten this privilege of getting the iPad, is I've seen their mood and their personality like morph and
mm,
change and
what's the
become
term what's the
like
term
they become very, very agitated, very kind of grumpy, very, very, I don't want to say like aggressive, like I'm describing something that's just like this crazy animal, but like I've seen that like change where they become more snippy and they become more like a little more attitude and a little
mm-hmm.
more like, I don't know what it is, but
No, I get it.
consistently been with them getting like that type of technology
Yeah,
and their moods. There's a correlation there for sure.
I call it. I have reached that kind of like point myself, and like I've just kind of like dubbed it loosely like TV head or something, like where
Mm-hmm.
my wife, like I'll be like sitting there and maybe I'll be getting too much screen time, and my wife's like, she like, maybe she's done working, she's like, do you want to like watch something? I'm like, oh my god, like I'm getting like TV head, like I need to like get outside, and like I know that I need to break from it,
Right.
break from the screen, because I mean, whether it's your phone or whether it's like your freaking TV, like it's all a screen, you
Oh,
know?
and it's funny how you go from one to the other. Like,
Hmm.
and I'm guilty of it. Like,
Yeah,
I'm on a screen right now,
right,
and then after this call, I'm gonna pick up my phone and I'm gonna scroll through my phone for 20 minutes.
right.
Go sit up in my bedroom and I'll probably watch TV for a half hour. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Well,
just like one after another after
and
another.
it's addicting too. Like, I mean, to some degree, like you feel like a compulsion to like check like your like
Yeah,
Facebook
like
feed or like your,
keep scrolling,
huh,
what have I missed?
yeah,
We're in this mode of like, what have we
yeah,
missed?
yeah, like,
Not to get too far off of our main topic, but like,
yeah.
what is that behavior, like mainly with those items, like what is that behavior doing to our kids or doing to young people's minds, and
Yeah.
I think there's a real big thing there that like kids can be bored.
Hmm.
Kids don't need to be constantly entertained.
Mm-mm.
Um,
In
they
fact,
don't
it's good for them. It's good
they
for them
don't need
not to be.
constant engagement,
Mhm.
Yeah. So
So yeah, so let's like kind of like try to like do like a takeaway from this. So I think you just hit upon like a really important point. I think it is more than healthy to let your kids be bored. In fact, I highly recommend it,
yeah.
because when I was bored as a child, that's when I became the most creative, and I created like the most magical like games and like weird activities that like my friends and I would come up with, you know?
Or drawing. Like I've noticed my daughter, I buy her books like these.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that like, and she has a couple of them, and I notice I'll watch her, and when there's not TV and not things going on, like she's like you said, she becomes very creative and starts drawing pictures and doing art and just drawing random things in these books, and that's a much better outlet than sitting in front of a
God.
screen.
Dude, I just felt like all of a sudden like this like pull to I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, I'm taking a break from social media. And like these guys
Right.
that do this, here's what annoys me is the guys that have to like broadcast it. They're like, gotta take a break from social media. Like, okay, I understand if you need to take a break from it, but the fact that you have to like tell us,
Right.
that's like a whole nother level of like self-indulge. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Self-absorption.
Just take a break from it. Don't freaking tell me about it. Just fucking go away for like 2 weeks. I don't care. Like,
it's like the guys that say that they're going to unfollow people in the
well,
comments.
yeah, but here's the weird thing. I think they have like this like weird like misconception that their followers are gonna like miss them so like tremendously that they have to like tell them, just so you guys know, I gotta take a break, so I'll be back. But like,
Are you going to take a break from social media and from computer screens?
well, I'm not saying I'm to that level of like addiction to where like I feel like I need one, but I
Right.
do feel like my creativity could probably benefit from me spending a little less time on like Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. But I enjoy it, and I don't think it's to the point where it's that detrimental to like I'm still creating and I'm still
Right.
being like productive enough. But I do think if I would take like a 2-week break and just focus on my music or focused on
Well, here's a little crumb. Here's a little crumble of wisdom, maybe for our listeners. Now, we gave a little bit of pieces for what to do with our kids, but for the adults, like let's try to leave this out of the bedroom. Let's try that. Like that would be a good step. Like, and that's I'm gonna take that advice. Like when I go to bed, put your phone away. Don't sit in bed on your phone. Reconnect with your spouse. Whatever. And use your room for sleeping. Like maybe that's a good takeaway too from this is try that. See what happens.
I like that.
It'd be good for your brain. So
I like that. Good show, dude. I really,
all right, man. Yeah, that was fun. And I hope our listeners enjoyed it. And
I feel like we kind of, there's probably some more things we missed out, like we maybe didn't think of. So like, if you guys leave a comment about some technology that you remember using as a child, that
would blow your kid's mind, that your kid would not even understand it.
They'd be like,
Let us know.
What's a cassette tape? Something weird like that.
Yeah.
Just like leave a comment. We'd love to hear it. So
right on.
All right, guys. I guess we'll catch you next time. Have a good one.
Yes. See you later.
All right. Bye.
All right, that's our show. Thanks for watching Stay at Home Dads.
You know the drill, guys. Blah, blah, blah. Hit that like button. Subscribe.
We'll catch you on the flip side.